I was shoved into a body bag, alive. The zipper climbed slowly, scraping through the silence as the cold plastic stuck to my still warm skin. Inside that bag, with me, was my blue scarf, the one I always took to the grocery store, a simple inheritance from my mother. It got trapped between my neck and the plastic, as if it were trying to stop them from erasing me before my time. I heard everything: the footsteps, the rush, the metal gurney creaking, and the sentence that still slices through my soul. Unclaimed body, you can take her. Body, not woman, not mother, not someone who was still breathing. I tried to move a finger, a muscle, a tear. Nothing. My body was a prison, and worse than that, a sentence. The feeling of being pushed away from the world of the living was colder than the morgue where they wanted to leave me. What hurt the most wasn't the death they thought had reached me. It was the abandonment that got there first. If you've ever felt invisible inside your own family, if you've noticed your voice no longer had any weight in the lives of the very people you raised, this is your story too. Because no one deserves to be discarded while they're still fighting to exist. Stay with me. I'm going to tell you how I came back from the silence, how I survived a stroke, and more importantly, how I survived the people who were supposed to love me. Before we go on, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Before the day they almost buried me alive, my life was made of simple routines. I'd wake up early, open the curtains of my small place in Tacoma, and let the light touch the old photographs hanging on the wall. My memories were there: Daniel and Brooke as kids with innocent smiles, me holding a last-minute birthday cake, the backyard where we planted tomatoes and laughed together, back when there was still time for us. Every time I looked at those photos, I adjusted my blue scarf around my shoulders. It was my way of remembering who I was before the world got so quiet. My kids drifted away the way you slowly push a door closed without admitting you're actually closing it. First came work commitments, then their new families, and over time, a strange feeling. I stopped being a root and started feeling like dead weight. Phone calls got shorter, visits rare, and conversations were always rushed. When I tried to talk about myself, my pain, my loneliness, they answered with phrases that never reached the depth of what I felt. Mom, I'll deal with it later. Mom, it's not that serious. My nephew Neil would show up when he needed a document, some bureaucratic advice, some guidance. And I gave it, because giving was what I knew how to do. Maybe that created, without me noticing, a habit. I gave, they took. But no one came back to see if I was okay. Even so, my life wasn't only sadness. I'd go to the grocery store with my blue scarf tied to my purse, breathe in the sweet smell of fruit, pick apples one by one, greet the employees. It was my way of telling the world I still existed. To the women listening to me now, I know how much it hurts when life keeps trying to shrink you. But I still believed my heart would find space. I just never imagined it would be so close to death. The day of my accident began quietly. One of those days that seem unwilling to hurt anyone. I adjusted my blue scarf around my neck before leaving. It carried a faint lavender scent, my small daily courage. I walked slowly to the grocery store, resting one hand on my purse like always. The sky was overcast, but there was a soft brightness that made everything feel calmer. Inside the store, I greeted the cashier, picked out my apples, preferring the duller ones. My mother taught me that the understated ones are usually the sweetest, and listened to distant promotional announcements. Everything felt normal. Everything felt safe. It was in the parking lot, groceries in hand and my blue scarf brushing my chin, that something shifted. First, a sudden weight on the left side of my head, then a high, insistent ringing, as if the world had started vibrating around me. I tried to steady my hand on the car, but my fingers failed. My vision darkened at the edges, like someone was closing the scene around me. My legs gave out. I fell slowly, but inside, the drop was brutal. I heard someone say, "Ma'am, are you okay?" But I was already losing control of my body. It felt like being dragged inside myself while everything else kept moving. The ambulance arrived quickly, but speed didn't lessen my fear. I heard everything, every word not meant for me, every clinical phrase that sounded like a sentence. Unstable blood pressure. No motor response. Possible severe ischemic stroke. I tried to blink. I tried to move my tongue. I tried, deep inside my chest, to scream that I was still here. But my body didn't obey. When they took me into the hospital, the white light hit my eyes like a blade. Doctors talked above me as if I were a table where urgent reports were placed. They ran a cold tool along my foot. Nothing. Along my hand. Nothing. The sound of the pen marking "no response" hurt more than the fall. At some point, my blue scarf slipped from my collar to the side of the gurney. I felt the soft fabric brush my arm, a last reminder that I had a story, a memory, a name. But no one noticed. To them, I was no longer there. And when they said, "Let's call the family," my heart sank with desperate knowing. Deep down, I already feared that the call wouldn't be answered with the urgency my life needed. If you've ever had the feeling that nobody would come if you fell, I was living exactly that, literally. From that moment on, my body became a silent battlefield, and I was losing. Not to death, but to abandonment. When they said they were going to call my family, I felt my heart race as if it wanted to break through my chest just to be heard. It was the last thread tying me to the world, the weakest thread, the one I secretly feared wouldn't hold my weight. I heard the nurse dialing, hesitant. Her voice tried to stay calm, but carried the discomfort of someone about to deliver bad news. Inside my mind, I held a breath my body couldn't take. The phone rang a few times. No one answered. They tried again. Daniel picked up, but his voice sounded miles away from me. I can't deal with this right now." And he hung up. I felt my soul slip inside my own body, as if something had come loose. My chest filled with a silence more cruel than any physical pain. They tried Brooke. It rang and rang. Until voicemail. They called Neil. He answered. But what he said hurt more than the silence of the others. "Do whatever needs to be done. No question. No attempt. No presence." That sentence floated in the air, heavy, final, and I felt that, from that moment on, something in me had been pushed out of the world of the living. My blue scarf was still there, fallen beside the gurney, almost touching the floor. I knew exactly where it was because every time someone rushed past, a faint breeze lifted a corner of the fabric. It was as if the last piece of my emotional life was trying to stay close to me. After the calls, I noticed a shift in the tone of the conversations around me. Irreversible condition. No response to stimuli. No family. Standard procedure. It was like hearing doors closing behind me, one by one. Not out of malice, out of indifference. And sometimes, indifference kills faster. My heart monitor spiked, a desperate attempt to get attention. The beeping grew sharper, more insistent. But no one came to me. It was just another number to adjust, not a plea for help. I heard a technician say, "We need to free up space. If there's no family, follow protocol." As if I were a box taking up room. As if the life I gave my children, the years I devoted to family, everything I built, had become an object forgotten in a hallway corner. I tried to cry. Nothing. I tried to move my hand. Nothing. I was trapped inside myself, while the world decided my end. If you've ever felt that no one would come when you called, I understand. I was there, hearing everything, being erased while still breathing. And every small oversight, every glance that didn't see me, every form signed too quickly. All of them were signs that I was being pushed toward a fate I hadn't chosen. And I knew, if no one stopped it, I wouldn't leave that place alive. After the ignored calls, something changed in the way the staff spoke around me. It wasn't cruelty, it was urgency. The urgency of people who needed to finish their shift, record numbers, move bodies, follow protocols. With no family present, I became a case no one would defend if doubts arose. And doubt disappeared far too quickly. I heard everything. Every stray phrase, every rustling paper, every pen clicking. These fragments became my silent way of investigating what was happening to me. Record irreversible state. No representative. Proceed with transfer. Small words. But all pointing in the same direction. A technician came in pushing a clipboard without even looking at me. He opened my file with a sharp snap. The sound of the page turning felt like pieces of my life being torn away. "We're missing a family signature," he said. "There won't be one," another voice replied, indifferent. "Then mark her as unclaimed. It's the protocol." My chest tightened. My uneven breathing tried to assert itself. The heart monitor spiked again, but no one saw it for what it truly was: panic. My blue scarf was now partially caught on the side of the gurney. Each time someone walked by, I hoped they'd notice. Notice the fabric, the lavender scent, the small detail whispering, "I have a story." But no one did. And that became part of the pain, the symbol of my life as invisible as I was. Later, 2 doctors spoke near the door. "We'll need the bed. She hasn't responded to stimuli. Could just be reflex. Or it could be irreversible." Yes. The weight of that word hit me like lead. I wanted them to try again, to call me by name, to touch my hand with intention, not out of protocol. I tried to move my eyelid. Nothing. I tried to tense my chest to trigger the monitor. Nothing. It felt like being inside a room full of shattered mirrors. I could see the world in fragments, but none of them reflected me back. That night, I heard something even more frightening. A tired voice, but firm. "Did you update her status?" "Yes. No family, no response." "Then send for verification." "Tomorrow morning?" "If nothing changes, yes. Change." That word became my lifeline. But how was I supposed to change anything if I couldn't move? In the hallway, someone said, "These cases are easier. No family to question." Exactly. Easy. I didn't want to be easy for anyone. I wanted to be seen. It was in that kind of silence, the kind no one listens to, that I started piecing things together. I wasn't being forgotten. I was being left behind. And if nothing interrupted that quiet, invisible current, I would end up exactly where they were pushing me, in a place where life doesn't return. I was already so trapped inside the silence that I almost didn't notice when the atmosphere in the room changed. It was subtle, like when a door opens and warmer air slips in. A different presence entered. The footsteps were light, young, not rushed like the others. He walked like someone careful with the ground beneath him. It was the first time I heard Leo Park's voice. Calm, attentive, human. "This chart isn't right," he said, hesitating, like he knew that questioning anything could cost him. The sound of him flipping through pages wasn't like the others. They turned pages as if trying to finish a task. Leo turned them as if trying to understand a person. I heard his breath catch. "This doesn't make sense," a nurse responded, impatient. "Leo, it's an irreversible case. The signs match." "They don't," he replied, steady but not combative. "Look at the cardiac pattern. It spiked yesterday." She sighed. "Reflex." "Maybe," Leo said. "Or maybe not." The difference between reflex and life opened a canyon inside me. He stepped closer to my gurney. I felt it. The air grew warmer, more human. Leo touched my hand, not to fulfill a protocol, but to look for life. A gentle touch, respectful, alive. "Her skin isn't cold," he whispered. The nurse tried to shut it down. "Leo, you're an intern." "And she's a person," he answered. Those 5 words cracked something inside me, because for the first time since the accident, I felt like I was still someone, not a body waiting for fate. Leo pulled my chart closer and spoke softly. "I want to request another evaluation." "You can't," the nurse argued. "Then call someone who can." Silence. The kind that appears when someone dares to say what everyone else avoids. Leo stayed beside me, close enough for me to feel his presence, far enough to maintain respect. And then, almost as if speaking directly to me, "I know you're here." My heart trembled. Not physically, internally. He noticed the beeping speed up and smiled with his voice. I saw that. Then he walked away. Determination in his steps. Courage in his breath. Before leaving, he came back and adjusted my blue scarf, tangled on the side of the gurney. The gesture was so gentle it felt maternal, or like a son, or like someone who saw meaning in what others dismissed as a scrap of fabric. He placed it carefully, as if saying without words, "I see you." And in that moment, I knew, if anyone could stop the path they were pushing me down, it was him. From the moment Leo questioned my chart, the air in the hospital changed. It wasn't something you could see, only feel. Heavier footsteps, lower voices, doors closing a little too fast. The whole place seemed to whisper, "Don't touch this." But Leo touched it. And because he did, the first confrontation came quickly. I heard Briggs walk in. I recognized his heavy, dragging steps, the kind that sound like the floor owes him obedience. He stopped near my gurney, breathing hard, and his voice came sharp with irritation. "Who messed with my records?" he demanded. Leo was there. I felt his presence because my heart always reacted when he came close. "I reviewed them," Leo said. Briggs let out a short, mocking laugh. "You? An intern?" "I found inconsistencies," Leo insisted. "The timing doesn't match the transfer order." Briggs stepped forward. The air around me grew thick, suffocating. "You don't understand anything. Protocols exist to move forward, not to be questioned by rookies." "Protocols exist to protect patients," Leo replied, steady. And then came the gaslighting. "You're tired, kid. You're reading it wrong." "I'm not," Leo said quietly. "And her oxygen levels don't match an irreversible case." Briggs got so close to him that I could feel the tension in the air. "If you keep pushing this, you'll end up worse than you started." "I can't ignore it," Leo whispered. "It wasn't bravado, it was conscience." I lay there, only able to listen. Part of me wanted to scream, "Leave it, Leo! Don't get in trouble because of me!" But the other part, the part still fighting for life, held on to him like someone clinging to the edge of a cliff. The door opened. Determined footsteps. A tight silence. Nora entered. "Technician Briggs," she said. "Are you intimidating an intern during an active internal review?" Briggs stiffened. "He's spreading misinformation. He doesn't know anything." "He's doing what you didn't do, paying attention," Nora replied, razor sharp. Leo drew a breath. "The timing is off, Ms. Caldwell." "I know, Leo," she said, "and we've already confirmed it." Briggs tried to defend himself. "I did what was necessary. No family, no response. That's how things work." "No," Nora corrected. "That's how mistakes happen." The silence that followed was so heavy it pressed against my chest. "Hand over your badge," Nora ordered. Briggs hesitated, but he obeyed. The sound of his badge hitting the table was like a nail being pulled from the coffin they'd built around me. Before leaving, he pointed at Leo. "This isn't over." The door closed behind him. Leo stood still for a moment. I could hear his shaky breath. Not fear, maybe shock, maybe responsibility. Then he whispered, "Just for me, I'm not giving up on you." And at that moment, even without moving, I felt something inside me answer. I'm not giving up on life either. After the confrontation with Briggs, something began shifting inside the hospital. It wasn't visible, but it was there, hanging in the air, lingering in hushed whispers, in doors that closed quicker than usual. I felt gears turning behind the scenes, the kind that push people like me toward an end no one questions. Leo refused to let those gears keep spinning. He returned to the records room that night. I recognized his footsteps, fast but careful. The kind of pace someone uses when they know they're crossing a line but can't ignore their own conscience. I heard drawers sliding open, folders being pulled, pages shuffling, the sounds repeated, relentless, like heavy rain on a metal roof. Then, silence. "No, this can't be right," Leo murmured. His breathing changed, tight, tense. The kind of breath that belongs to someone who has just discovered something serious. A woman from the audit department entered. I recognized the click of her heels on the polished floor. "Leo, what are you doing?" "Look at this," he said, handing something over. She spent several seconds reading. The air went still. "This form was filled out early," she said, stunned. Before the clinical update, before the second neurological check, even before the call to the family. I know, Leo replied. The times don't match. None of it matches. Pages flipped faster now. Voices grew lower, sharper. Who signed this? Briggs. Her silence was heavy. He filed the morgue transfer before the protocol allowed it. Way before, Leo added. She kept reviewing the file, then her tone shifted. Deeper, more controlled. Leo, there's something else here. What? The system logged a duplicate access. Duplicate? 2 logins under the same user, 30 seconds apart, different IP addresses. A silence filled with guilt and fear followed. That's a severe violation, she said. Someone accessed her chart without authorization, using credentials that weren't theirs. My heart beat harder. And at that exact moment, my blue scarf, half slipping from the gurney, touched the floor. Like the universe reminding us that my story was hanging by a thread. Leo continued. But why? Maybe haste, maybe negligence, maybe intention. Intention for what? To speed up a process that only moves fast when no one asks questions. His silence was a short, painful mourning. She was alive, Leo said, voice cracking. I saw it. She reacted. The auditor exhaled slowly, trying to reorder the world. This needs to go to administration. Immediately. And her status? We'll try to reverse it. But the system doesn't allow reversals of unclaimed body, Leo said. Not automatically, she corrected. Only manually, and it's a long process. Long. While my life depended on seconds, Leo refused to accept the system's timing. Then we'll do it manually. Everything. Line by line. It's risky, she warned. Risky was treating her like an invisible body, Leo said. The two of them started reconstructing every step. And for the first time, someone said aloud what no one dared to acknowledge. This wasn't just an error. I know, Leo whispered. Someone made decisions because they assumed no one would come for her. My chest burned. It hurt because it was true. If you've ever felt like your absence wouldn't matter, I understand. I was living the proof of it, written in stamps and signatures that tried to bury me early. And there, under cold lights and scattered files, Leo uncovered more than a mistake. He uncovered a story that had almost been buried. Mine. After Leo and the auditor discovered the duplicate access, the entire hospital seemed to hold its breath. It wasn't a loud scandal. It was the kind of silence that forms when people realize the truth could cost more than one reputation. And for the first time, that silence was working in my favor. A few minutes later, I heard the hospital director, Dr. Tan, enter the records room. His voice was measured and precise, the kind of voice that never loses control. Explain, he said, firm but calm. The auditor handed him the documents. We found manipulated timestamps. The morgue transfer was logged before the clinical update, and we confirmed a duplicated login under technician Briggs's credentials. A long silence followed, the kind that comes right before something collapses. Could this be a system glitch? The director asked. No, she replied. 2 different IPs, 30-second interval. This was human action, and deliberate. Leo added, and all of it happened after they recorded that the family wasn't coming. That sentence hung in the air like an accusation, and it was. My heartbeat picked up. The monitor alerted them, sharp, insistent, as if my life itself were confirming the truth. Dr. Evelyn Richmond entered, carrying the calm weight of someone who lives daily between life and death. We're reassessing her, she said. Completely. Steps approached my bed. I heard the curtain slide open. Her touch was clinical but firm. She pressed a finger against my eyelid. The air stilled. Maggie, if you hear me, try to respond. Inside, I screamed, not with sound, with intention. And then, a tremor. Small, almost invisible, but real. Here, Leo whispered, emotional. She reacted. The doctor repeated the test, and I reacted again. She is conscious, Evelyn declared. And that changes everything. I heard pens moving across paper, keys being pressed, urgency, finally, moving in my direction. The investigation grew louder. More people, more fear. The auditor continued. Doctor, there's more. Go on, Tan said. Some records were erased, or rather, replaced. By whom? We're still cross-checking, but... She hesitated. It happened during hours when no staff member was logged into the room. Leo spoke up. Someone used remote access. Another waited silence. This one filled with something dangerous. Intention. The auditor went on. And one more thing. Papers shuffled. The imminent death note is overly standardized. Practically copy and paste. Isn't that normal? The director asked. Not when it's applied before final testing. Leo's voice rose, not shouting, but breaking from pain. She was alive, the entire time. And the documentation pushed her toward the wrong outcome because no one cared enough to confirm. Then something warm touched my arm. Leo had picked up my blue scarf from the floor. He placed it over my chest. Carefully, respectfully, putting back a piece of me the world had let fall. My heart rate jumped in response. The auditor concluded, this wasn't an isolated mistake. It was a sequence, Leo said. A sequence that only happens to patients with no defense, she added softly. Director Tan finally spoke. We're opening a full formal investigation, effective immediately. And Briggs remains suspended pending disciplinary review. Leo exhaled, relief, weight, responsibility. His voice softened. She shouldn't have been fighting alone. Dr. Evelyn rested her hand on my shoulder, gentle, steady, human. She isn't anymore, and in that moment I realized the hospital that almost swallowed me was now moving to bring me back to the world, and for the first time since the stroke I felt something like hope, slow, measured, but real. The discovery of the duplicated access spread through the hospital like a forbidden rumor. It didn't travel in loud voices. It traveled in avoided eye contact, hurried footsteps, and whispers that died the moment someone approached. Everyone knew something serious was unraveling, and no one would come out untouched. For the first time, the weight of the institution wasn't against me, but against those who tried to erase me. That's when she arrived. Nora Caldwell. The door opened with the precision of someone who refuses to waste time on interruptions. Her steps were exact, not arrogant. She carried a thick black folder and a gaze sharp enough to slice through any lie. She wasn't the type who shouted. She was the type who silenced a room with a raised eyebrow. I need everyone involved in the Hollins case, she said, firm without raising her voice. Leo stood beside my bed. I felt his breathing change, not from fear, but from relief. Someone with authority had finally entered the fight. Nora approached my bed and studied my face for a few seconds. It wasn't a clinical stare. It was human. The kind of look that recognizes injustice before it recognizes symptoms. So, this is the patient who was nearly sent to the morgue alive, she murmured, a mix of disbelief and anger in her tone. Leo nodded. She reacted when I tested her. Twice. Nora opened her folder. Papers tapped together with a crisp, controlled sound. Let's clear up a few things, she began. The morgue transfer was logged before the second neurological assessment and before the final life check. That only happens in 2 cases, severe incompetence or intention. The word hung in the air like a blade. The auditor walked in next. More irregularities, she said. Duplicate access, edits outside scheduled shifts, altered timestamps. Nora folded her arms, processing everything. So it wasn't just negligence, she concluded. It was deliberate record manipulation. The room tightened. My heart rate climbed. Leo moved slightly closer, like a shield at my side. Director Tan entered. We need to be cautious, he said. Accusing someone without... The evidence is right here, Nora cut in, sliding documents across the table. And another thing, the documentation pattern shows that whoever logged this didn't expect pushback. You only file an early morgue transfer when you're sure the family won't defend the patient. My chest tightened. It was true. My absence had been used as a justification to bury me. So the family, Tan began. Did not show up, Nora interrupted, and that created the perfect storm for neglect. Leo took a step forward, emotion thick in his voice. Her vitals didn't match an end-of-life chart, and no one wanted to recheck. Nora turned to him. And you insisted. Because she was still here, Leo said. That word, here, moved through me like a quiet embrace. Then Nora made the decision that changed everything. From now on, every step regarding Mrs. Hollins goes through me, and Leo stays as an active witness. He identified the first inconsistency. He stays. Leo was silent for a moment. I heard the tremor in his breath, courage mixed with responsibility. I'll stay, he said. Nora nodded. Good. Because as of now, we begin the counterattack. She closed her folder with a sharp click. A sound that felt, to me, like the first real step toward reclaiming my life. Not just physically, but morally. From that moment on, I didn't only have someone who saw me. I had someone fighting for me. 2 allies. And a system finally bending toward the truth. After Nora officially took over the case, the hospital felt split in 2. The people desperate to hide the mistake, and the few determined to fix it. That kind of divide creates a strange, almost electric silence. A silence that warns something is about to erupt. I felt that silence before I even heard Briggs return. He walked into the room without permission, ignoring the suspension he'd already been given. His footsteps were hard, angry, steps of someone who refuses to be questioned, let alone exposed. I want to talk to you, Briggs said, pointing at Leo. His voice was tight, weighed down by a pressure he couldn't, or wouldn't, hold. Leo inhaled slowly. You shouldn't be here, he said, steady, but not hostile. I came to set the record straight, Briggs insisted. You're spreading lies. You're dragging my name through the mud because of a patient who was basically dead. The words stabbed through me. I heard them. I was there, trapped, alive, feeling every syllable like a burn. Leo stepped forward. She wasn't dead, he said. And you know that. Briggs moved closer, as if force alone could bury the truth. You don't understand how this place works. When a case is lost, we speed things up. We don't waste resources. We activate protocols. Leo didn't back down. A protocol doesn't override a life. Briggs laughed, a bitter, sharp laugh. You think you're saving someone? You're throwing your career away before it starts. Leo didn't answer, but the air around him trembled with a different kind of strength, not fear, but indignation. The door opened. Nora stepped in, each movement controlled, her presence cold and precise. Technician Briggs, she said, you're violating your suspension and attempting to intimidate an intern during an active investigation. That's serious. Briggs turned to her. He's making things up, turning everyone against me. No, Nora replied. He's trying to correct an injustice. You're the one trying to silence it. Her voice didn't need volume. It had weight. You really think people will believe an intern over someone with years of experience? Briggs sneered. Nora moved closer. They already do, and experience won't shield you from consequences. Your early signature, your after-shift access, your unauthorized edits, all of it will be reviewed. And if it was intentional, you will face criminal accountability. Briggs froze for a moment filled with real fear. Then he tried to strike back. You have no idea what happens here after 6 p.m. Oh, I know, Nora said. That's exactly when you assumed no one would notice what you were doing. Leo stepped between them, not as a hero, but as someone who refused to let injustice pass. Stop, he said. This isn't about me. It's about her, the patient. She's alive. The room thickened, heavy, dense. Briggs walked up to my bed. I felt the scent of disinfectant on him, felt the air warm near my face. Dead or alive? It doesn't change anything, he muttered, as if trying to make it true. Leo moved instantly. Yes, it does. It changes everything. And in that moment, my eyelid trembled. Not as a reflex, but out of sheer will. Briggs saw it and stepped back, startled. Nora saw it too. You see that? She said. She reacts. She's conscious. And you nearly sent her to the morgue alive. Briggs's face drained of color. The truth hit him like a blunt, undeniable blow. Get out, Nora ordered. Before I call security. He left. And as the door closed, something changed inside me. I was no longer a forgotten body. I was a living witness, and my existence, nearly erased, was now evidence. Leo held my hand firmly. I promise, he said. They won't silence you. And for the first time since the stroke, I believed him. After the second confrontation, the hospital stopped pretending everything was normal. The air was heavy, thick with the sense that something serious was about to surface. In a small, cramped room near neurology, Nora gathered the essential team. I could only listen, but every word mapped the path back to my life. Nora opened the meeting with surgical precision. From this point on, we need a clear plan, she said. Any mistake could jeopardize the patient's reassessment and the legal process. Leo was there. I recognized his breathing, anxious but determined, always steadying when he was close to me. I have her latest vitals, he said. They show small but consistent improvements. Good, Nora replied. We need documentation of every detail. She's been conscious. She showed eye response. That proves the morgue transfer was inappropriate. The auditor placed a stack of documents on the table. These are the crossed timestamps. There are off-shift accesses, modified records, and signatures that don't match. Nora reviewed them in silence. Even the sound of the pages was tense. This isn't administrative error, she decided. It's a chain of negligence, potentially intentional. Leo tightened his hands. What do we do now? Nora drew a breath. We reverse her status. That's the first step. The room fell silent. Everyone already knew the problem. The system doesn't allow automatic reversal of unclaimed body, the auditor said. Leo added, we have to do it manually. Nora nodded. Exactly, and that takes 3 steps. Cancel the morgue transfer order. File a new neurological evaluation with 2 signatures. Appoint temporary legal guardians, since the family didn't show up when it mattered. Leo blinked, confused. Who will be the guardians? Nora looked straight at him. I will. And you. He froze. Me? You're a key witness, she said. You were the only one who looked past the protocol, and she responds better when you're present. I felt his breath catch. This wasn't just procedure, it was connection. I accept, Leo said. I'll do whatever's needed. Nora continued. We also need to rebuild the entire timeline, from her arrival to the premature transfer order. The auditor opened another file. We have internal footage. Briggs entered the records room at 7:14 p.m. Off shift, Nora noted. Yes, and without authorization. Leo added, he assumed no one would notice because no one was looking out for her. The auditor went on. There was also an unregistered phone call to administration just minutes before the premature form was signed. Nora lifted her eyes. Who made the call? Silence, pages turning, keys clicking. Then, we don't know. It came from an internal extension that's usually empty at night. Leo murmured, so someone set the stage. Nora shut the folder firmly. We still don't know who, but we know why. They assumed no one would speak for her, that no one would question anything. Just then, my blue scarf, placed carefully on my arm by Leo earlier, shifted in the air conditioning, as if breathing with me. Nora concluded, from now on, everything happens in the open, every signature, every revision, every step documented. They tried to silence a conscious woman. Now it will be her story that exposes everything. Her story, even though I still couldn't speak. Leo came closer and touched my hand gently. We're bringing you back, he said. and no one's pushing you anywhere ever again. And in that moment, for the first time since the stroke, I felt I wasn't alone. I had allies. I had a voice. I had a fight. And most of all, I had a chance. The day of the final confrontation began with a different kind of silence. Not the cold silence of the days before. This one was dense, loaded, as if the walls themselves knew something was about to collapse. I felt the sunlight coming through the window, brushing my face gently, and for the first time since the stroke, I thought, maybe I really am coming back. Not just to my weakened body, but to the world. I heard hurried footsteps in the hallway. Several, heavy, familiar. Daniel was the first to enter the room. His voice came tight, irritated, almost aggressive. "What is this? Why did someone call saying our mother is alive?" The word "our" fell crooked, forced, an attempt to patch months, maybe years of absence with one sudden burst of outrage. Brooke walked in next, then Neil, each one carrying their own mask of late concern. The shock wasn't that they came. It was realizing they came not for me, but because the hospital situation had escalated. Brooke tried to defend herself. They told us she was in irreversible condition, that there was nothing left to do, the kind of sentence people use to wash their hands. Neil added, "We didn't know it was that serious." The phrase cut through me. Because I heard when they called. I heard when they hung up. I heard, "Do whatever needs to be done." Before they could continue, Nora entered. And the entire room changed. The silence became firmer, like it finally had someone to stand on. "Thank you for coming," Nora said, blunt and dry. "We need to clarify a few things before any decisions are made." Daniel scoffed. "Decisions? She's our mother. We're the ones who decide." Nora slapped a folder onto the table next to my bed. The sound hit the room like a gavel. "No, you are not." Daniel snapped toward her. "Excuse me?" Mrs. Hollins was classified as an unclaimed body because none of you showed up when contacted, Nora said. That led to temporary loss of medical decision-making rights. Silence, a guillotine drop, a truth none of them expected. Brooke's voice trembled. We were in shock. Shock is when you rush to the hospital, not when you hang up the phone, Nora replied without raising her voice. Leo stood beside me, and as always, his presence steadied my breathing. Daniel tried to regain control. This is ridiculous. We are her family. You were contacted 3 times, Nora said, opening the report. 3 separate attempts, each one documented. We can read them aloud if you'd like. He had no answer. His silence finally matched his guilt. Dr. Evelyn entered with my updated tests. Let's address the most important point, she said. The patient is conscious. She has responded to stimuli. She's fighting, but she was alone during the critical period. My heart pounded so hard I could feel the pulse inside my skull. The family stayed silent, not because they doubted, but because they knew they had nothing to defend themselves with. Leo stepped forward, not for attention. He never sought that, but because the truth needed a voice. She heard everything, he said. All heads turned to him. She heard when you hung up. She heard when you said you couldn't deal with it. She heard, do whatever needs to be done. She was here, alive, trapped in her own body. Brooke covered her mouth, horrified. My God, Nora continued, and she also heard when technician Briggs said he was pushing the protocol early because nobody would come for her. Daniel exploded. That's a lie. You're blaming the family to protect the hospital. Leo answered before anyone else could. I was there. I heard it. From that moment on, the hospital seemed to breathe for me. The auditor walked in. We found unauthorized access to her medical file, she said. It was altered before the official check. Someone moved forward with the morgue transfer early. Neil went pale. Are you saying they tried to... We're not saying it, Nora interrupted. We're proving it. The table filled with photos, timestamps, logs, signatures, IP addresses. The truth laid itself out like evidence in a courtroom. Daniel tried one last push. None of this matters. What matters is we're here now. Leo's voice broke that defense cleanly. She didn't need you now. She needed you when they thought she was already gone. The room froze. Cold. Exposed. Nora walked to my bed and adjusted my blue scarf. A slow, careful, almost ceremonial gesture. She wasn't fixing fabric. She was restoring dignity. "You abandoned a living woman," she said. "And the hospital nearly buried her because you didn't question a thing." Brooke sobbed loudly. Not with remorse. With shame. Daniel stared at the floor. Neil twisted his hands. And then it happened. My body, after days of fighting the silence, gathered every fragment of strength I had left, and my eyelid moved. Again, stronger. Leo saw it first. "She's reacting," he said, breath shaking. Dr. Evelyn confirmed. "She's fully conscious, and she's hearing everything." The family froze. Their masks fell. All their excuses evaporated, and something inside me shifted forever, not because of the movement, but because of what it meant. I was no longer invisible. The truth was out. They saw. Everyone saw. I had survived the stroke. But more than that, I had survived abandonment. And in that instant, I knew. I wasn't going back to the life I had. I wasn't going back to them. I was being reborn. And this time, I was being reborn for myself. After my eyelid trembled in front of everyone, the silence that settled over the room wasn't doubt anymore. It was shame, recognition, collapse. And for the first time since the stroke, it wasn't my body on display. It was the truth. Dr. Evelyn took the lead. "We'll begin intensive recovery protocol immediately," she said. "The patient has real chances of rehabilitation, but she needs an emotionally safe environment." Nora followed, firm as ever. "And per administrative decision, the family remains temporarily barred from making medical decisions. Our priority is protecting Mrs. Hollins's well-being." Daniel tried to push back. "But she's our mother." "She was your mother," Nora corrected. "During the stroke, during the calls, during the critical window, you weren't there. From now on, the authorized provisional decision makers will handle her care." Leo stepped closer to my bed. I felt it. My breathing always calmed when he was near. Brooke wiped tears with shaking hands. We didn't know how to deal with it." Nora looked at her, not cruel, not soft, but truthful. "No one knows how, but some choose to face things. Others choose to disappear." Her words echoed through the room, heavy with the kind of truth no one can argue with. The auditor entered with the final reports. "The preliminary investigation confirms manipulated records, premature transfer orders, and a critical failure in life status verification." Daniel swallowed hard. "Does that mean legal action?" "It means accountability," Nora replied. "And it means your mother was nearly sent to the morgue alive because of a series of negligent actions that only didn't succeed, thanks to an intern who noticed what no one else cared to see." Leo lowered his head for a moment. Emotion, not pride. He wasn't looking for attention. He was looking for justice. I heard his voice near my ear, soft. "You're getting out of here. I promise." The rehab team entered. Gentle stretches, light motor stimulation, tactile prompts. Each touch was a small victory, a tug back toward life. Daniel and Brooke watched from a distance, unsure what to do with their hands, their guilt, or their presence. And for the first time, I felt no urge to reach for them, no longing, no ache. What I felt was freedom. Because I finally understood that surviving isn't about regaining what you lost. It's about choosing what you carry into the future. Leo adjusted my blue scarf over my chest. The most symbolic gesture of my entire recovery. The scarf was back where it belonged. And with it, so was I. The life that was almost stolen from me was returning. Fragile, yes, but mine. And now I wasn't alone. I was being seen. 3 months later, I walked back into the hospital. Not as a patient, but as someone who had risen again. I moved slowly through the hallway where, once, they nearly erased my name. The sound of gurneys, the smell of disinfectant, distant voices. Everything looked the same, but I wasn't the same woman who arrived unconscious that day. I'd come to close a chapter, and this time, on my own 2 feet. I carried my blue scarf with me, the same one that slipped from the gurney on the day they tried to send me to the morgue, the same one Leo placed over my chest when the world had already given up on me. It had become my symbol of return, simple, but full of life. Leo greeted me at the entrance of the ward with that warm smile that always seemed to brighten the room. "Look at you," he said, proud. "Look at us," I replied. The board asked me to give a formal statement. I sat before them, adjusted my scarf, and began. My voice was still soft, but steady. I told them about the stroke, the silence, the body bag, the footsteps dragging me away. I told them about the family who didn't answer. I told them about the sound of the zipper closing while I was still alive. I told everything. And when I finished, something inside me felt light, not because of revenge, because of truth. Afterward, I paused by the window where I used to watch the ambulances arrive. The day was bright. The world continued on. And so did I. As for my family, I let them go. Life has boundaries we must learn to protect, and I protected mine. Today, I know that rising again doesn't mean becoming who I was. It means choosing, intentionally, who I allow into my life from now on. If you've ever felt invisible, forgotten, or discarded, this story is yours too. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to live. If this story touched you, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and tell me in the comments, which part of this journey spoke to your heart?